All right, so you've been hearing a lot about Project Y, right? This whole Web4 super app thing. And you're probably wondering, is this the next big thing in social media or just like another flash in the pan?
Well, it's certainly generating a lot of buzz, I'll give them that.
Yeah, I mean, with all the craziness happening over on Twitter or X, whatever we're supposed to call it now,
Yeah.
I think people are definitely ready for something different, something better.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, let's face it, the current social media landscape is, well, a bit of a mess. You've got these centralized platforms, like the one we just mentioned, calling all the shots, making up the rules as they go along. It's no wonder people are feeling, disenfranchised.
Disenfranchised, yeah, that's the word. Like, we're the users, but we have zero control. It's all algorithms and echo chambers and, like you said, constantly changing policies. Remember when they tried to limit how many tweets you could read in a day? What was that all about?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
interesting. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? With these centralized platforms, you're at the mercy of whatever the company decides. And that can change on a dime, which can be pretty frustrating for users and, frankly, pretty detrimental for businesses and creators trying to build a following.
exactly. And that's where Project Y is trying to come in and shake things up.
Yeah.
They're claiming to be building a decentralized platform, which basically means no single entity controls the whole thing. And get this, they're doing it without blockchain, which is, well, kind of mind-blowing.
That's what really piqued my interest, to be honest. I mean, we've seen a lot of decentralized platforms pop up in recent years, and almost all of them are built on blockchain technology. So to see someone trying to do it differently, it's definitely intriguing.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm a little confused. I always thought decentralization and blockchain went hand in hand, like peanut butter and jelly. How can you have one without the other?
Right. It's a common misconception. People think they're synonymous, but they're not. See, blockchain is just one way to achieve decentralization. It's a very specific technology using this distributed ledger to record transactions and, keep everything secure.
Okay, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
But how does Project Y do it differently? What's this Web4 thing all about?
So Web4 is kind of an evolution of the internet as we know it. It's built on this idea of a more decentralized and user-centric web. Think of it as like the internet owning itself instead of being controlled by a handful of big companies.
Okay, so instead of like Facebook or Google having all our data, it's more spread out, more democratic.
Exactly. And Project Y is leveraging this Web4 infrastructure, specifically something called Linkspreed, to create this decentralized social media platform. It's still a bit technical, but essentially they're using a network of interconnected devices, kind of like a peer-to-peer system, to distribute the platform itself.
So instead of relying on one central server, it's like everyone's computer is a little piece of the puzzle.
Precisely. And that's how they achieve decentralization without blockchain. It's a different approach, for sure, with its own set of pros and cons.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. But what does that mean for the everyday user? Like, what are the tangible benefits of this no blockchain approach?
Well, for starters, it's supposed to be much faster and more efficient. Blockchain transactions can be notoriously slow and expensive because of all the computing power
Oh,
involved.
yeah, the dreaded gas fees.
Exactly. But with Project Y's system, there's no need for all that. Transactions are processed much more quickly and without those extra costs.
So no more waiting an eternity for your post to go live or paying an arm and a leg just to send a message. That's a definite win in my book.
Absolutely. And because it's decentralized, you also have more control over your data. It's
Mhm.
not stored in some giant corporation server. It's distributed across the network, making it much harder for anyone to access it without your permission.
Okay, that's huge. Privacy is like the holy grail of the internet these days.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Most people are using social media to, be social. What about the actual platform? Is it just a decentralized Twitter clone? Or does Project Y bring something new to the table?
They're definitely not just trying to replicate Twitter. They're taking some of the core features like real-time conversations and public threads, but they're also adding some really innovative twists.
Like what? Give me the juicy details.
Well, one of the things that really stood out to me is their emphasis on community-centric design.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask about. They keep mentioning this whole build your own social network thing. It sounds almost too good to be true. Like, is that actually possible?
That's the thing with Project Y. It might just be, see, they're not just building a single platform, they're building the infrastructure for countless platforms. With Linkspreed, anyone can create and manage their own independent social network tailored to their specific community.
Whoa, hold on. So, like, I could create a social network just for fans of, I don't know, 80s hair metal.
Exactly. Or for your local knitting group, or for your neighborhood watch, or for, whatever you're passionate about. The possibilities are endless.
That's a game changer. I mean, think about all the niche communities out there that are underserved by the current social media giants. This could be their chance to finally have a space of their own.
That's the potential for sure. And because each network is independent, they can set their own rules, moderate their own content, and even choose how they want to monetize, if at all.
So no more shadow banning or algorithms burying your content because it doesn't fit their agenda.
In theory, no. It's all about putting the power back in the hands of the users, the communities themselves.
Okay, that's a powerful concept. But it also sounds incredibly ambitious.
Hmm.
I mean, can they actually pull this off? Are there any potential downsides to this approach?
There are always challenges with new technology, especially when you're trying to disrupt an entire industry. One of the biggest concerns with this no blockchain approach is security.
Right, because blockchain is supposed to be like super secure. Right.
Yeah. It has its strengths for sure. With blockchain, you have this immutable record of transactions, making it extremely difficult to tamper with. So Project Y will need to demonstrate that their system is just as secure, if not more so.
So they'll need to convince people that their data is safe and that the platform itself can't be easily manipulated. What about the whole decentralization aspect? How do they ensure that the network remains truly decentralized?
That's another key challenge. With blockchain, you have this distributed network of nodes that all have a copy of the ledger, making it very difficult for any one entity to gain control. Project Y will need to show how their system achieves the same level of decentralization without relying on that blockchain infrastructure.
It sounds like there are a lot of questions that still need to be answered.
Hmm?
But let's talk about the potential here. The source material highlights how Project Y could revolutionize the way creators and businesses interact with their audiences.
Absolutely. One of the biggest complaints from creators is that platforms like YouTube and Instagram are constantly changing their algorithms, making it harder and harder to reach their audience organically.
Right. It's like you're constantly chasing the algorithm, trying to figure out what they want, instead of just focusing on creating great content.
Exactly. And then there's the whole monetization issue. Platforms take a huge cut of creators' earnings, and they can demonetize you at any time for, whatever reason.
It's like they're holding your livelihood hostage.
In a way, yes. But Project Y is promising to give creators more control over their revenue streams. They're talking about built-in monetization tools that allow creators to directly charge for their content, whether it's subscriptions, pay-per-view, or even just tips.
So cutting out the middleman and putting more money in creators' pockets. I like the sound of that. And what about businesses? And how could Project Y benefit them?
Well, imagine being able to build a community around your brand without having to worry about the platform's constantly changing policies or algorithms. You could interact directly with your customers, get feedback, and even sell your products or services all within your own independent social network.
So it's like having your own little corner of the internet where you set the rules and control the experience. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And it could level the playing field for smaller businesses that can't afford to compete with the big guys on traditional social media platforms.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got a potential social media revolution brewing here. Project Y is promising a decentralized platform built on Web4 that puts users and communities in control. They're ditching blockchain for a faster, more efficient system, and they're offering a whole suite of features designed to empower creators and businesses.
It's an ambitious vision for sure. And it remains to be seen whether they can deliver on all those promises. But one thing's for certain, Project Y is forcing us to rethink the way we think about social media.
It's making us question who really owns the internet, who has the power, and what the future of online communities could look like. And those are questions worth pondering, even if Project Y doesn't end up being the ultimate solution.
Agreed. It's a fascinating case study in the evolution of technology and the ongoing struggle for a more decentralized and equitable internet.
So for our listeners out there, if you're intrigued by this whole Web4 thing, if you're tired of the status quo and hungry for something different, I encourage you to dive deeper. Read up on Project Y, explore the concepts of decentralization and user ownership, and see where this rabbit hole leads you. You might be surprised at what you discover.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to create your own little corner of the internet, a community built on your own terms, free from the constraints of the old guard. The future is, after all, what we make it.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Project Y, Web4, and the future of social media. Hit us up on our website URL, or find us on, well, all the usual social media suspects for now, until something better comes along. Thanks for listening, And keep exploring.
Thanks for having me. It's been a thought-provoking conversation.
It always is.
Always.
Until next time, folks.